if anything, I've never been this excited or involved with the administration or politics ever. Like I know more than I've ever known
Never turned
before.
your radio on?
Never really turned my radio on. Never listened to the crazy uncle. So It's like a soap opera, or those of us that are Latin and grew up with the novela, listen to the grandma, Alondra knows what I'm talking about. She grew up with novelas. This is a real life novela happening right in front of us.
We live below the fold. We live underneath those incredible brands.
What is the vision? Right? So like there's a story, but then it's like, where are you trying to go? If it's compelling enough, then you start to get people to believe in it.
Okay, we got a hot subject, but maybe we have to read a disclaimer first.
We should. This is not a politics program. We are simple people. We are screen printers.
Yeah. Here's the disclaimer, everybody. The world does not need another political show. And this is not a political organization. We really do not care in any way, shape, or form about anything but making merchandise, creating incredible products, delivering value for artists and entertainers. And, of course, we're Americans. So
yeah,
let's call this this is an American manufacturer's take on tariffs. Non-political, we don't want to hear it in the comments.
And boy, is it ever changing. Just seconds before we walked in here, there's more news about it. So, a lot of dust settling. I like to say we like to just control what we can control. What we can control is our world, our process, and just what is tangible in our hands. Everything else is, you kind of have to ride the wave, if you will.
Yep.
So,
okay, Carlos. So let's just say that you don't have a TV, you don't even have a radio at your house. You're living in 2025, but you have absolutely no idea what's going on. And again, this is not from a sense of like, we're not newscasters. We're going to give you, here's what's going on with tariffs from the perspective of two American manufacturers, right? The American man for the American way. I don't know.
Tommy Boy.
Yeah,
American part for the American people. And
so why don't you just, what's going on if you don't have a TV? Why don't you kind of walk through it?
Well, yeah, everyone's got a crazy uncle, I'm sure. So if you don't have a TV,
Easter's coming up.
Yeah, everyone's got a crazy uncle or something. So the conversation is tariffs, and the administration is hitting tariffs across so many different countries. But really what we're going to talk about today and in this show is, we've been asking questions from other industry professionals, from very big brands, big manufacturers, and just getting a feel of the market, So there are tariffs being hit, and how does that pertain to this industry specifically, right? And so I think that's kind of what we're going to kind of unpack a little bit. We've been asking questions, and as we just walked in here, things have changed. So It's one thing I've heard a lot of people saying is that it's
negotiation tactic.
It's a negotiation tactic, but also like let the dust settle, because you can't react to something that's happening today. Because as everyone's seen, like markets are changing and all these things are happening. And today it's up. Yesterday was down. The following day is going to be up. So the reaction day to day is really tough. You kind of have to try to think about the long game a little bit. And I think that's what we're going to try to have a discussion on. How can we, as people in manufacturing and apparel, how can we think a little bit about the long game? And really, how do we capitalize as U.S. manufacturers? How can we add value, right?
So before we kind of level set, the first question that I know everybody asks me is like, hey, where do T-shirts come from? Where do your hoodies come from? Like, where apparel in the decorated apparel space, in music and entertainment, where do most of those products come from?
So it's a very jam-packed question, I think, because a lot comes from China, a lot of cut and sew and that type of stuff, but T-shirts come from all over the place: Nicaragua, Portugal, Central America.
Yep. Some Pakistan, some India.
It really does come. It does come from everywhere. Especially like, I think it's important to say, like, if you're buying something from Zoomies or Hot Topic, that might be 100%, China type, the retail market, if you will. But for our decorating process or embellishment process, these garments come from all over the place. So it's kind of hard. Even those of us that are in production, you may be working with the production partner, and you know how we print inside tags, how we do relabeling. You know, a lot of the times the client will say, "Hey, what's the country of origin?"
Yeah.
Right? Like
shake the dice. You know, 20 countries of origin.
Literally in one lot. In one production run, the country of origin can be from multiple places.
Yep.
So that's how like it's up in the air, right? It's not all stuck in one area, but they come all over the place. They come from multiple countries across the world.
Yep.
But even deeper, like this could be a good segue. You know, I was talking to one of the biggest apparel manufacturers in the world, in the country. I'm not going to list names, but it even goes a little deeper to like, where's the cotton from?
Yeah.
And then if the cotton's from one place, and then where is it assembled, and then where is it produced? So it even goes deeper into that. So one of the biggest suppliers that I talked to, they're like, we're not really worried about it because all of our product is 100% U.S. cotton.
Awesome.
So 60% of the garment, if you will, before it's constructed is U.S.
Yep.
So any other part that is constructed, or maybe it's the collar or the seam, I don't even know. I don't really know. I don't get that deep into the construction of it, but maybe 10% of it is produced somewhere else, and that portion of it would be subject to tariffs.
Yeah. Now I think from my end, I'm going to start with, you know, we are empathetic that our client's business may revolve around importing a product, right? And so we certainly do not want to have any level of like, we're happy with disruption, right? Like
right.
None of us want to see, you know, any business be hurt, especially from, you know, being small business people of ourselves. We certainly don't want to see, you know, a small brand in the athleisure space, you know, not be able to compete on the market because of tariffs or anything like that. So
right.
I think we'll get that out of the way, right? But ultimately, as American manufacturers, and as, you know, we employ a very sizable team of factory workers, right? You and I both put the boots on every single day, and we come to work inside of a factory.
Yeah.
Whether we're here in Chicago or in Daytona or out in California, we're working in a factory. So obviously, like that is who, like, our perspective will come from, you know, being American manufacturers, and looking at the glass certainly, you know, half full, being completely optimistic in this sense, you know, that it's kind of fun to be in that place. I usually don't get to play in that
yeah.
in that realm.
True.
I'm extremely optimistic to say, like, wouldn't it be incredible if we could make far more of those products in completion? The cut and sew is done here. The cotton is grown here. Obviously, we decorate here in the United States. Could we be actually able to compete in the marketplace, whether the product's going to retail or it's going to tour or it's going to a small business? Can we finally get to a place where we are now able to compete? Are you seeing that?
I'm definitely seeing that. And that's to your point.
That's the goal.
We can't run around screaming and shaking the bell because we're U.S. manufacturers, because supply chains will get disrupted a little bit, right? But what I'm finding, a lot of these bigger brands that I talk to, because it's a question. It's not a political thing. It's something that affects our business. So we should be able to speak about these things, right? We shouldn't hide behind the door. But from my perspective, is like, not many people were blindsided by this.
Yeah.
They knew it was coming, and
they have TVs.
They have TVs, and they've already been trying to diversify their supply chain. So some of the biggest brands that I've talked to on the consumer side, or the brands themselves, they've anticipated it, and they've been kind of moving their production around, whether it's domestic or moving into different areas. Like we say domestico all the time, Mexico. Yep. It seems Mexico is complying in some form or fashion, or at least it's halted for a little bit. So that's still a good place to produce it. The prices haven't risen too much, but from what I see is a lot of companies have planned for it a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
So the other thing, like, I want to paint somewhat of a picture. At least, you know, our job is to bring, you know, some level of, like, content from a side that you're not totally, like, thinking about or understand. in no way, shape, or form are we talking about iPhones. You know, like we were just talking like, oh my God, what's the price of my iPhone? Okay, second disclaimer, we don't make iPhones. You know, call was
Mr.
Tim. Call
Mr.
Tim.
Mr. Cook.
I don't know. We don't do iPhones, but we got the opportunity to tour a incredible partner of ours that has a dye house right here in the Midwest that is just like massive. I mean, this is like I would say like Portugal or China or Honduras level production facility. And I said, what's the problem? Like, well, where the challenges are. And the challenge that he had, number one challenge, is I cannot compete on price. I cannot employ Americans compete with China or Honduras or any of these other places. So it's dying, it's wilting away.
Yeah.
If this works, and if we're able to set more of a level playing field, then the dye house gets to hire great people, pay them an awesome wage. Sure, things maybe costs are going to go up a little bit, but so is their income, right? Yep. And I think like that's just the ultimate goal. And as we were talking, this morning with a client today, and we're like, wouldn't it be awesome to have a entire tour be created in America 100%? I was thinking like an artist, like even better if it was like A-list, if we
Kid Rock.
Yeah, an American badass of sorts, right? Yeah. Like anyone, right? Mm-hmm. That you could go out on tour and say, our products are manufactured in America, designed, like in the back of the iPhone, right? Designed, manufactured, decorated, delivered for American people by American people.
Because that's who we serve.
Because that's who we serve, right? Yeah. I think that's cool. Call me a nerd in that sense, but I don't believe that in our career we've done that.
No. I think what you're talking about, that would be a dream. I don't think no one would argue against that.
People argue against that.
I mean,
which is
people do.
Yeah.
Sane people probably wins, and I think that's a good thing. But I do think like one thing to consider, you're talking about raising prices and like how are a lot of these brands going to react to it. Anyone in this industry is probably getting email blasts from distributors and brands, and you're seeing emails come and talking about tariffs and what their plan is. A lot of brands, they have a lot of inventory, right? So that inventory wouldn't be affected. So a lot of that inventory on hand.
And smart ones, I think, we're loading up.
We're loading up a bit.
They should have, at least.
They should have. They should have been planning. But you'll see that a lot of the inventory isn't affected. But one thing I think, like, we all have to keep our eyes open a little bit. And we'll be able to see, like, which brands react the right way or the wrong way or try to take advantage. So we'll have to kind of keep our eyes open a little bit.
Talking about like the COVID surplus, COVID did it.
That too, yeah, exactly. I really want to open up a can of worms and start talking about COVID on here. But yes, but still, even that was an eye opener, right? You kind of like opens your eyes a little bit to look a little deeper. But it doesn't have to be raising prices, right? There are 3 ways you can react to this. There's number 1, you could try to buy better from your supplier. So if a supplier is getting hit with tariffs or an increase in some sort, and you are a pretty good buyer, you have some buying power, maybe they'll decrease their pricing a little bit for you, right? So if it goes up 20%, maybe they give you 5% decrease in price because of your volume. Yeah. So there's 3 ways to react. Try to buy it better. Number 2, you could pass it on to your customer, which a lot of people might just go straight to that, which, damn, that sucks for us as customers, right? Mm-hmm. With jumping over option 1 and going straight to passing it on to the customer. You could pass it on to the customer, or you could, as a brand, absorb it yourself. Mm-hmm. Or you take a little bit of each one of them. Yeah. The best negotiators, and that we all should be learning a little lesson on negotiation.
Find a sweet spot.
Yep. And us, we're pretty good. We're pretty good buyers. Significant buyers of not only garments but ink and consumables. Yeah. There's so much. As a buyer, like, can we buy better? Maybe pass some on to the customer. And then option 3, right? Yep. So those 3 things, you might be able to get to that tariff, what you're facing, and not disrupt too much.
Yeah, going back to like the dream because I guess I can't escape it. But I did see like some crazy AI, generated video of like, them mocking basically what we were saying. And I wanted to talk, hopefully the next episode that comes out is us kind of putting some, money where our mouth is a little bit, like some proof in the pudding. I think for factories, in American factories, of course, they're doing this all over the world, but we have such an incredible opportunity with AI and automation. We have our first robot here. We've been talking about it. So like, where you guys are going to get the glimpse, like right into it. You're going to feel, touch, and play with it straight out of the screen. We have the ability to compete, like you just said, like maybe the factories, they need to automate here, right? And that's our plan, right? We should get pushback a little bit, and we accept that. If we're going to compete, and if we want to keep the price in line for the consumer, well, then we really have to get lean. That we really have to, figure out a way to do things for a lower cost, and we do that through automation. And then leading up to, okay, Rich, well, you just said you wanted to hire a bunch of people and pay them more, but yet you're going to automate. Those individuals who, first and foremost, we lack greatly. For example, grabbing a garment off of the back of the dryer. First and foremost, it's not the funnest job in the world. It's hot. You burn your fingers. It's monotonous. It's boring. We're taking that same individual and we're now getting them up to be an engineer. We're upskilling them. We're teaching them how to program it. Each robot that we're going to start to apply to the business is highly unique and different. One of them is like a tray system where it senses the garment coming, it pushes a tray, it brings that garment back and goes down, analyzing the print every single time. The other one is like 2 actual arms, and those are highly skillful, but yet require a ton of programming.
Yep.
So we're now taking that individual that really hated what they were doing, is like very boring, and how could I enjoy this? And now we're having them program the robot, and they're thrilled. It's been a knock out of the park every single time. So originally we needed 25 people, but we only had 12. Now we're taking all 12 of them and we're giving them a better role, a better job, and we're saving costs at the same time, passing that on to the customer, just like you said. We're choosing to do all 3 of those options.
Exactly. Saving costs, passing it on to the customer. But, I've caught a few shirts myself in my day from behind the dryer.
4.
Not many.
4.
Can't say Joey kicked me out of production pretty quick when we first started, but those t-shirts are hot, man. That burn your fingerprint right off. So to be able to upskill and let them focus on quality control, even more so than just catching the shirt and stacking it.
Yep.
Let them look at the print, make sure that the registration's on point. Like you said, upskilling is going to be so much better for any individual that's behind the belt.
Yep.
But yeah, I think what you're talking about is efficiencies, right? Like if we have to compete on price and now have an opportunity to win business we wouldn't have had otherwise, but margin still matters for the customer,
yep.
right? And for that type of business, we have to be efficient. So, we focus a lot in technology, we focus a lot in automation, and try to increase our efficiency so we can pass all that discount on to the customer and try to make that transition to domestic production a little more seamless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope at least, we're coming at this in a positive light, trying to make kind of the best out of like a, super unknown situation. And, at the end of the day, we're just talking about clothes, right? It's like, as entrepreneurs and as like small business people that live in America and hire people in America, I think it's also exciting enough for us to think about what else could we make here? Yeah. We don't talk cars or iPhones or anything like that, but maybe there's simple medicines that we can produce, or maybe there are things that are essential for us to make here, not even for like security reasons, but for like, why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
And if there's some level of playing field, imagine how many entrepreneurs can be born, small businesses can be born, how many great new unique ideas can we incubate out of here and then spin out for awesome people that work here already to be able to run. So
100%.
yes, I'm sure. I don't think, we're over here saving the world or anything like that, but this is where it starts.
Yeah. Well, I'm 100% bullish on America, and we should be. And I think that, if anything, I've never been this excited or involved with the administration or politics ever. Like I know more than I've ever known before.
Never turned your radio on?
Never really turned my radio on. Never listened to the crazy uncle. So it's like a soap opera, or those of us that are Latin and grew up with the novela, listen to the grandma, Alondra knows what I'm talking about. She grew up with novelas. This is a real life novela happening right in front of us.
Yeah.
What do you call those? Soap operas, right? And it's like, just let the dust settle. Let's see what happens. But we're trying to capitalize wherever we can and add value across the board as manufacturers.
Yep. Cool. Well, if you've got something positive to say, we want to hear it, right? Like, we want to hear it. We want to talk through. Let's try to figure this out. We really believe in America. We believe in the product that we can continue to start offering. And so put your comments in. Check it out.
Love to hear them. That's the pod.